And here we are, post Stanley Cup celebration with your Nova Scotia Supernovas. We're going to go over the playoff stats now because we did not in the last one, I don't believe. So in 24 games, Alex Kamowski gets 26 points. What a pickup he was from the Montreal Canadiens. He had 70 points in the regular season as well, so he was certainly a big surprise. Definitely made a good name for himself. Then you have Braden Yeager with 21 points. Stenberg, the rookie of the year most likely, with 20 points in 24 games. He had 72 points on the regular season, led our team in scoring. You had Peterka with 19, Nemestikov with 18, Saad with 17, Kiviharju with 16, Ladnia with 14 in 22 games, Lekarimaki with 14, 13 for Liljegren, 11 for Graves, 9 for Chikrin, 8 for Fabro and Delbel Beluz, 7 for Moore, 6 for Juracek, 4 for Pajot and Fassia. And for Fassia, that was in 6 games. 2 for Pearson, 1 for Zetterberg in 2 games. Odelius did not play. And then Swayman and Ivanov split the time in net. It was mostly Swayman for the second half and then Ivanov for the first half. In 16 games, Ivanov had a .917 save percentage, and in 9 games, Swayman had a .924. So it was a combined effort in goal and by the team itself. So really, everyone played a part, and it was a well-deserved Stanley Cup victory. So while we obviously did win the Stanley Cup, it is unfortunate that we are going to have to say goodbye to a few of our players here. Pearson, Moore, and Pajot are all among those who are going to be released going into this offseason. They're 33, 31, and 33 respectively. We have a lot of prospect forwards who are coming up and need to make a name for themselves. Linus Eriksson, for example, still down there in the AHL with a 2.5-star talent. So I want to make some room for him on the roster. I don't think Zetterberg got to play too much either, partially due to his injury, but also due to just a lack of roster spots in general once he came back, So giving those young players the time to play on the NHL roster is going to be really important for our long-term success. So that's why we're saying goodbye to these 3. Now with that out of the way, let's get to the awards ceremony. So the Ted Lindsay Award goes to Connor McDavid, of course. The Art Ross goes to Connor Bedard of Vancouver. The Maurice Richard goes to Austin Matthews. The Lady Byng goes to William Nylander. The Bill Masterton goes to Oliver Ekman-Larsson. The Mark Messier Leadership Award goes to Mikko Rantanen. The Jennings goes to Adam Huska. And the heart between Bedard, McDavid, and Matthews, it goes to Connor Bedard with 119 points. And the Conn Smythe, who does it go to? It goes to Alexander Khmelevsky with 26 points in 24 games. Once again, what a pickup. And the Calder between Stenberg, Howard, and Mukhanov. Come on, Stenberg. And it is indeed Stenberg with 72 points in 77 games played. What a year for him. And the Norris between Riley, Fox, and Theodore. You have Shea Theodore. For the Selke between Kroos, Kakaniemi, and Dvorak, you have Lawson Kroos. For the Vezina between Huska, Odinger, and Hellebuck, you have Hellebuck. GM of the Year between yours truly, Steve Yzerman, and Kevin Cheveldayoff, you have Steve Yzerman with the GM of the Year. So that's unfortunate. Took the team from bottom of the league to Stanley Cup winner in 1 year, and I feel kind of snubbed right now. Anyway, on to the Jack Adams. You have Doug Waite, Rod Brindamore of your Nova Scotia Supernovas, and Rob Tallis. Come on, Brindamore. All right. At least our coach won Coach of the Year. That's fine with me. We got the Conn Smythe, the Calder, the Coach of the Year, and of course the Stanley Cup, so I can't complain about not getting the GM of the Year. That's all right with me. And then of course Otto Stenberg made the all-rookie team as the top left winger. So with that, I believe we can make our way to July 1st. Actually, before that, there are a couple of prospects to sign, such as Jonas Wu and Nikita Makarov, who are both 2-star abilities now. I'll also be signing Onishko, Doyle, and Zacharias as their signing deadlines are coming up in a few days. And Carlson and Amon have also been approached with an offer. And our total season score for the 2025-26 season is 44, bringing the total career score to 64. And I have put all my available points into negotiating. Got to get that up there to 20 as soon as possible. I'm starting to believe that the computers just don't like prospects or something, because Matteo Rotondi, 2.5-star ability, 5-star potential at 20 years of age, is available in free agency. UFA, by the way, not RFA, UFA. He played all of 4 games with the Winnipeg Jets before they decided to send him down to the QMJHL, never to play him again. And they didn't re-sign him for whatever reason. I don't know why. Maybe he was asking for too much. I mean, let me just take a look what he's at. That is not too much. 1.3 for 3 years. I'm pretty sure just last offseason that Luke Hughes was also available in free agency, and the Devils never signed him for whatever reason. So I don't know what's going on there, but I'm going to ignore that one. As good as it would be to have a player like Rotondi on our team, that is definitely an issue with the game. I'm seeing that quite often. That being said, we do need a depth forward as we only have 12 on the roster currently. And obviously there's more in terms of prospects like David Cleese down the AHL, Velikov, Thibodeau, Eriksson, right? But I do want to bring a veteran on board who is also making at least a fair bit of money because we are just barely above the cap floor. So if I could get a defensive winger, sort of like Scott Lawton or Gurgensons maybe, doesn't need to be anyone fancy, just someone who can possibly play third line. My only contingency is that I don't want a long-term deal. So for example, like maybe Tuck. I'm all right with the salary, but the years, I would prefer 1 or 2 year deal. If you go down to 2 years, I'll give you 6.5. That's a whole million more than what you're asking for there. Okay, fair. Good. Anyway, besides that, there's not really much else that I want to do because we are still a growing team. I mean, obviously, we just won the Stanley Cup, but, I do still want the younger players to grow into their roles. And as far as depth goes, our defense is looking pretty good. We have 2 3.5-star abilities in Chikrin and Yurichek. Then you have Liljegren, Graves, Kiviharju, Fabro, Fascia, Odelius, and then not to mention in goal Swayman and Ivanov. So there's just really not much to be done. And given the fact that we won the Stanley Cup, I wouldn't change much to begin with. I mean, obviously we released players like Pearson and Pajot and more, but that was all to give the younger players a chance to shine. And obviously I just approached Tuck, but honestly, that was more for filling out the salary cap than anything. What I'm hoping is that all of our younger players end up out playing Tuck. I mean, that's where we're at as far as depth goes because, like I said, I want all these players to play. I mean, obviously, if Tuck performs very well, then I'll be glad to have him. But I'm merely signing him as a backup plan in case of any of our young talent has like a sophomore slump or something like that. Or if we by chance get someone with like a 10-month injury in the preseason. It's possible. So you gotta be prepared for anything, I suppose. And speaking of injuries, you actually have Ingram as well, who is more than likely coming back by the start of the regular season. So a lot of depth at forward, a lot of depth on D, and just overall a pretty solid team. So, I mean, we're not in the draft lottery this time, obviously, but it'll still be interesting to see. So at number 17, you have Tampa. At number 16, you have Detroit. 15, Montreal. 14, Carolina. 13, Minnesota. So Anaheim moves up. Number 12, Toronto. 11, Columbus. At number 10, you have LA. At number 9, you have Nashville. 8, New York. 7, San Jose. 6, Chicago. 5, Seattle. 4, Boston. 3, Anaheim. And at number 1 is the Washington Capitals. All right, here we go. Draft time. We are obviously picking at number 33, the final pick in the first round. So let's see who goes first overall. It'd be Rock Desjardins to the Washington Capitals. Looks like a decent two-way defenseman. Might take him 2 years or so. And obviously this is going to take a while to get through if we go through every team. So we're just going to skip right ahead to our pick at number 33. All right, so there are 2 players with the 3-star potential. You have the defenseman Tomek. Looks more like a defensive defenseman. Determination 16. 44 points in the Czech U20 League. And then the winger Peter Westman. Looks like a two-way forward. Mental ratings are kind of all over the place. He's got high determination, temperament, and professionalism, but low team player, leadership, aggression, and bravery. Point-wise, he had 42 points in 41 games. Well, I know not to take too much stock into the mock draft in this game, considering how wildly unpredictable it is at times, but Westman's supposed to go to number 69, and Tomek's supposed to go to 32. We're at 33 right now. There's also Simone Carlson. He's a 1.5-star ability, 2.5-star potential. So a lot of his ratings are already pretty good. But then again, we don't necessarily need a center right now, considering how many young centers we have. So while Carlson would be nice, he's not exactly a priority. I mean, as we take a look at the depth chart, you have Yeager, Khmelevsky, Ingram, Nemesnikov, Lekarimaki, Delbel, Baluz, Zetterberg, Eriksson. We have so many centers. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Tomek here on this one. All right, well, here we are about 30-something picks later. We're at pick 66, and Carlson's still available. And he just so happens to be not only the best ability, but the best potential as well. Or, well, as far as 18-year-olds go. There's Bostrom as well, but he's 20 years old. And he's got the half-star abilities, so there's no doubt in my mind Carlson's the pick. between him and Bostrom anyway. Yeah, he's definitely the best player available at this point. I'm scrolling through all the other players here, and I'm not really seeing anyone who even compares. I mean, listen, I know we don't necessarily need centers, like I just mentioned, but he's the best player available by a long shot. So I'm not going to pass that up just because we have too many centers. I'd rather take him and then have him possibly be trade bait. Or maybe he's not trade bait at all. Maybe he makes our roster. Maybe he surprises and is a good enough simulator to push someone out of a roster spot. You never know. So Simone Carlson, welcome to the Nova Scotia Supernovas. A lot of 20-year-olds in this draft. I'm going to filter them out. So as far as 18-year-olds go, there's only 3 2-star potentials left. Ochinyan, Kiss, and Roivas. And unfortunately, it seems that the quality of the players in this draft drops drastically after these 3. Because most of these players that are 1.5-star potential, just I'm not really a fan of. Ochinyan, big game performer. I like that. I do like that. But Roivas is as well. Ochinyan definitely seems like an agitator. Based off the determination, the aggression, the hitting, the screening. Let's see. Yeah, his highest role rating is agitator. And at least at the moment, there's no one who really fits that description on the team, so may as well be him. Just another look at Roivas here. Yeah, he's more of a two-way forward. I mean, we have plenty of those, but we don't really have an agitator, so yeah, I'm going to take Ochinyan. And from this point forward, don't know if there's anyone who really catches my eye. Yeah, I think I'm just going to skip the rest of the draft. Nothing too interesting here. And for this year's Hall of Fame inductions, you have Chris Pronger, Ryan Miller, Theo Fleury, and Brian Propp. So it is only preseason here, but Tuck might have been a great signing here. 77 overall grade, 76 offensive, 75 defensive. He's been solid. But the real surprise here is David Clee, the 21-year-old, 81 offensive grade, 76 defensive grade. Might have to keep him around. I don't say that often about 2-star players, but he is an exception for sure. Honestly, I'm not sure who else to cut. Down to 24 players on the roster. Have to cut at least one. I mean, Stenberg is injured, so I could put him on the injured reserve list and make it temporarily 23. But once he comes back, then, you're going to have to send someone down regardless. And then also Ingram. Ingram's coming back too. So we technically have to cut 2 forwards by the time Ingram comes back. Actually, we do have 8 defensemen, so we could technically cut 1. But honestly, all the players remaining have a very good case for the roster. So whoever's getting cut here, it's going to be a tough decision. Okay, so I have decided to trade Ryan Graves at 50% of his salary and Spencer Sova to the Arizona Coyotes in exchange for Brogan Rafferty, mostly because of his salary. He's making $4 million, and frankly, none of his ratings are all that great, so I don't mind sending him down to the AHL. And besides, he probably won't get claimed anyway if I put him on waivers due to his salary. And in addition, we are getting 2 second-round picks and a 3rd. Pretty good for Ryan Graves at 50% of his salary. And then Spencer Sova, he's 22. Not looking too likely that I'll make the NHL, honestly. So this looks like a pretty good trade to me, and I think we will finalize this. And there it is. The Arizona Coyotes have accepted our trade offer. We will complete the trade. So it's unfortunate we had to get rid of one of our roster players that took us all the way to the Stanley Cup. But of course, given that we have a lot of young talent coming in, I didn't want to get rid of any of them. So in the end, it ended up being one of the veteran defensemen. And obviously, I have no problem dropping Rafferty down to the AHL. So now that'll clear up room for Ingram to come back once he is eligible to come off the injured reserve. And of course, we also have to get Stenberg on there. I'm not quite sure who to drop just yet in favor of him, because obviously we're going to have to get Stenberg on the roster given his performance last year, 72 points in 77 games. I'm expecting to drop Clee down to the AHL at some point, but he did have a great performance in the preseason. So that being said, we'll see how everyone simulates come the start of the regular season, which starts on October 4th against the New York Islanders. Honestly, I'm thinking Zetterberg might be the one to drop down, unfortunately, because his career has been quite unfortunate so far, to say the least. I mean, he has some pretty good ratings on him. I would certainly love to see more of him, but he had that huge injury last year, which lasted 10 months, and then that led to him getting sent down to the AHL. So he hasn't seen NHL action in well over a year, and I'm a little worried, to be honest, because he wasn't the greatest simulator then either. Only 9 points in 64 games played. Of course, he didn't get that much ice time that year, but Minus 14, 60 grade. I believe his defensive grade wasn't great. So I'm a little nervous for Zetterberg. So I hope he makes it a tough decision for me, but I'm predicting that he's going to be the one sent down or even traded away in worst case scenario. Yeah, Ingram is back. What to do? I really want to give David Clee a chance, but he might be the only one I can send down to the AHL for the time being. Can I send down Zetterberg without waivers? I think so. Yeah, okay. So now we'll get Ingram back on the active roster, and there you go. That is your 23-man roster to start out the regular season. So that being said, we will simulate through October and see how everyone does. So we have gone a month. We are 9-6 now. If there's one thing this team is good at, it's scoring. As we see Peter with 17 points in 14 games, 16 for Stenberg and Peterka, 15 for Yeager and Khmelevsky, Nemestikov with 13, 12 for Yurchek and Tuck, 10 for Lodnia, 9 for Chikrin in 15 games. I mean, we are very good at scoring. In goal, Ivanov with a 9-17 in 6 games. Pretty good. But unfortunately, Swayman in 9 games with an 8-87. So at this point, I am considering trading Swayman. He did have a good year last year, but so far, it's looking like he's going to replicate the 2 years before last year. And I know the season's still early, but it's not looking good for Jeremy Swayman. So there are a couple of trades I want to make, but I'm going to wait until the next one to make them. So that being said, we'll end things off here. And the next one, we will continue on with year number 6.